Hello again, and welcome to this edition of the Daily Cannon Tactics Board. Stephen Bradley here, bringing you the tactical tweaks and quirks that came from Arsenal's miserable, depressing, lackluster, dismal 1-0 defeat to Everton in the Premier League last night. An awful game. If you didn't watch this, you missed nothing. I like it's just one of those games where events of the outside world were far more important than events inside the Emirates Stadium on Friday night, frankly. And if you were one of those who either took part in the protest against Stan Kroenke's ownership or even just, tweeted online showing your support, like I did, that was a far greater use of your time than watching this game because a statement was made outside the ground. A statement was very much not made inside the ground because, as you can see, the lockdown haircut is in full flow now. Barbers here in Ireland aren't going to be open for at least maybe another month. So for the foreseeable future, there's going to be a lot to the side, and unfortunately, not a lot up top. And unless Aubameyang and Lacazette get fit, Arsenal might be the same way. This just wasn't a good game. As much as I'd like to say, oh, there was this tactical thing that happened, it was really interesting. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Arsenal, they decided to set up the same way to have the last few games because they've decided that not having a left back is a good idea, and played Chambers wide right. Holding comes to the right. We'll move Calvert-Lewin out of the way for a second. Mari goes there, and Xhaka now goes to his now almost customary left back slash left centre back slash back three ish. Ceballos now go. Ooh, that's James Rodriguez. Ceballos now goes left mid, as we know, so they can do this. Pepe went wide left. Partey goes in the middle. We'll move James back a little bit more. Partey goes middle, and then Smith Rowe goes in and around here. Saka stays wide right, and the centre forward tries to link up, but as we know, Eddie Nketiah, as much as we complain about Aubameyang and Lacazette's link up play at times, Nketiah's, he's not that type of player. It's non-existent. His game is to get into the box and get to the end of moves, and that's it. So he was trying. God bless him, he was trying, but it just wasn't there. He was just giving the ball back to the player that gave it to him immediately, and that's not link up play. That's just passing it back. So we've discussed before how Arsenal's patterns of play remain the same during a game of Arteta ball. He wants the team to play in a specific set of patterns, and a specific patterns I mean by going from left, then to right, then to left again. And we can see exactly how they've done it here. Liverpool did this to us where we had a U around here with all the possession they had. And it's one of those situations where this isn't a U, this is almost a Z, because it goes from the goalkeeper, it goes to here, it goes to here, and then it's supposed to go in here. But in this game, half the time it went there. And you just get this constant pattern of this. And this is how it happened in the game. Kick out to Xhaka, to Ceballos, to Partey, to Saka. And then it's almost like, right, lads, we've got the ball here. Do what you want to do from there. And it's designed to do two things. It's designed to either get the left back isolated with Saka, and then for the defence to collapse over this way so that the left winger is free, so that Saka can find a long ball like this over here, or the defence doesn't collapse over and Saka has an opportunity for one-on-one with the left back. Now, Lucas Digne is a good left back. He's a fine left back, in fact. But you'd back Saka to beat him at least some of the time. And Pepe is still learning his craft on the left wing, so to speak, and Seamus Coleman is a very good right back. I know he's coming back from a serious injury, but he's still a very good right back and has been for several years. It's still tricky to get round Coleman one-on-one. So I don't expect these to be consistent wins all the time for the Arsenal attackers, but getting them one-on-one consistently would be a good idea. However, I saw that this was going to be the plan. By now, I'm assuming you saw that this was going to be a plan, and Well, Carlo Ancelotti is a smart man. He also knew that this was going to happen and he had a plan for it. Now, it wasn't a very complicated plan or a very methodical plan. It was simple. Just fight numbers with numbers. We want to push an extra number back, so they're going to put an extra man back as well. So every time Saka got the ball here, let's say it goes from Saka to Ceballos to Partey to Chambers to Saka, or Partey is able to find Saka himself. What Everton did was very basic, but is very effective. Andre Gomes just went here. Didn't try to cover off the ball. He literally just stood there. And Godfrey moved over and Holgate moved over. And now it's like, if he beats Digne, he has to beat Gomez as well. And what it does is, instead of Saka doing this, because Digne is coming close and Andre Gomes is coming close, Saka now runs in a straight line almost away from the goal. So Saka's not nullified, but if these two men are always following Saka, then you need someone to do this, which was what Chambers was doing from time to time. And he put in a couple of decent balls, but he's putting a couple of decent balls into a lad who's 5'8" against a 6'1" and 6'2". It has to be an absolutely pinpoint cross. And Nketiah was consistently running in between the two of them at all times. He was never going front post or back post. He was always going in here. So Everton kind of had the right hand side covered. And so obviously that leads to the ball ended up here a lot. Because Saka, being a smart, clever, intelligent footballer, can see that he's always been either man marked, or at least in basketball terms, he's being double teamed. They're making sure he doesn't get in here and cause havoc. They're making sure that he's always shepherded away from the ball. So when Saka would get the ball, Gomez would go here. James would just trot over, because again, we know with Mesut Ozil, he's a fantastic attacking player, but a little bit lackluster in his defending. He gets in good spaces, but it just takes him time. So Saka would just 40-yard crossfield ball all the way to Pepe, who now has, because he sees that the defence is trying to come up with his side. So Alan goes there and does the same thing as Andre Gomes. Basically tells Pepe, you have to go that way. And Pepe, being Pepe, likes to cut in. Yes, he's left-footed, but he likes to drive inside. So now Pepe's running like this. And every time Arsenal got the ball to Saka or Pepe, there was a blue wall in front of them. At times, when Arsenal would have the ball, give me Alan. Alan would be there. James would come there. Smith Rowe would try and find space. So would Saka. Digne would come in narrow. Chambers would hover there too. Holding would come wide. Mari would push up. And then it would be up to almost Ceballos and Partey to find some space, and Richarlison would cover. Sigurdsson would come back. And Calvert-Lewin would just basically stand on Mari's toes. And Arsenal were expected to pick a pass through this. Like, this is where Arsenal's lack of... I know they're missing Aubameyang. I know they're missing Lacazette. But this is where Pepe's limitations on the left kick in, and where Saka doesn't really have anyone else to pass the ball to create something. Yes, Smith Rowe can do it, but Smith Rowe is so good at making these off ball runs that he can find a pass, but he's a better runner. But every time Saka got the ball, there was two men on him, so he had to give it back to Partey, which is why, if you were watching the game, you would have been swearing at Partey maybe all game long, because Partey found himself here, over and over and over again. And if we can get up Partey's shot map, look where he's shooting from. Like, those are not efficient positions to be shooting from, but that's what he was left with. He's getting the ball here all the time. Ceballos is there. Partey's got 6 men, but a wall of 9 in front of him. So he's like, well, the only thing I've got on is I'm going to shoot. And the ball would end up near this bookmark or near the spot or near the Spotify. Like, they were going nowhere near the goal. They were like, yeah, you shoot all you want, mate. And The problem was that this is what Arsenal did for 74 minutes. Like, I'd love to say there was a plan B, but no. They tried again. They would go. It would go to, you know, it would come for Ceballos here. Get to party. Richarlison would be there. Sigurdsson would be there. He'd get it to Saka. Gomez would be here. Saka wouldn't be able to have any space, so Smith Rowe would come deep. He'd give it to Smith Rowe. Saka would try and make a run. Digne would come back, so Smith Rowe would give it a party. Then Pepe would be here, but of course he's now got two men on him as well, so he'd try and beat Coleman because he always does, but couldn't get the better of him. And they just kept running into walls, running into walls, running into walls, and it's not like Everton were doing much of a difference themselves. Like they were, when anytime they would get the ball, they would try to break Allen and get it to either James, Sigurdsson, or Richarlison, or in even some cases, just big long ball up to the number 9, who's a superb header of the ball, and knock it down and run. But they're, as much as Arsenal's plans were get it to Saka so he can try and beat the fullback, and then maybe plan B or plan C is get it to a fullback who can cross. Everton's plan A was to get it to Richarlison because they wanted him one-on-one with Xhaka, and if that didn't work, get it to Digne, who would be bombing down the left. And if that didn't work, Everton had nothing. And any time they did do this, Calvert-Lewin would be met by Mari, and Xhaka would like clamp on like a limpet onto Richarlison, and that was it. There was nothing. And that was the whole game for 74 minutes. It was just watching one team running into a red wall, and then watching the red team running into a blue wall. Back, forth. Just trying the same thing again and again. You know, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing something repeatedly expecting a different result. Arsenal did this 20 times and came up against a blue wall and then just tried again and then tried again, and just, like I said, ended up, back to the heat maps, ended up, like I said, with this formation, ended up, because they were knocking it round after a while. You can see how, you know, this line here just shows you how much they were cutting in, and how Everton were just, you know, getting into midfield and then launching it long. Like, it just wasn't a good game. And yes, after 74 minutes, Arsenal made 2 changes. They brought on Odegaard and Martinelli. And Martinelli came on for Nketiah, and Odegaard came on for Pepe. And they moved Smith Rowe out to the left, Odegaard here, and Saka stayed right wide. And nothing changed. Like, yes, okay, they only had 15 minutes to have the ball, but in 15 minutes of play, 17 minutes of play, Gabriel Martinelli touched the ball 7 times. Like, it was just relentless how Arsenal just kept hitting their head off a brick wall over and over and over again. Odegaard touched it 14 times, and like 5 of them were in the space of 30 seconds, where he started knocking the ball to Partey and Saka. And then 76th minute, Richarlison finally got an opportunity to run at Xhaka, beats him, takes a shot from here, and Leno decides that he's going to let it in through his legs, and it's 1-0. And Everton, with their 49.49 XG, are ahead. Like, 1 shot on target. It's the woodwork, by the way, is a Sigurdsson free kick. It's just, Arsenal have conceded 2 shots on target in 2 games and dropped 5 points. And yes, they had more possession. Yes, they had 14 total shots, but I've shown you the Partey ones. Like, 14 shots, 0 big chances. They were passing it around grand, but to not much effect. They're just knocking it round just for knocking it round, say. 14 shots, 3 on target, 3 out of 14. Like, it was just miserable to watch. It really was. And then, of course, as we know now, Arteta's throwing of the kitchen sink is he took off. My memory evades me for a second. He took off Callum Chambers, of course he did. One day, chat, I will learn how to type. But he brought on Willian, put Willian here. Saka once again returned to his right back role, which is now his cavalry role basically. And Odegaard went to the right, Smith Rowe went to the middle, and they would change constantly, just trying to make a bit of space, and then Saka there as well. And now it was Willian's turn to do nothing on the left wing, whilst Allen played as almost a sixth centre back. And same thing happened again. It was literally only in the 93rd minute where Partey decided instead of passing it wide, he's going to pass it to Martinelli through this channel here. Coleman gets on the end of it, but Martinelli still gets a toe to it and gets a good save out of Pickford. But that was it. That's all they did. Like, it's a shame that there was just so little to talk about. Like, Arsenal did nothing. And you'd like to think that the protests outside affected them a bit, and then you can explain it away. You'd like to think that they would try and conserve energy against Villarreal on Thursday night, but that's still 5 days away. It's just another disappointing performance in the middle of a rather bad piece of form, and it is getting to the stage where this is the team that, again, he has no tyranny, but fair enough. But Ceballos is still on loan, obviously, but Partey's his guy. He brought in Mari. He brought Rob Holding's there. Leno was chosen over Emi Martinez. Smith Rowe's being played because he had no choice because his senior team was letting him down. Same with Saka, really. You know, Pepe has been shoehorned in at left wing. It sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And Eddie Nketiah cannot play in this system. Just can't. Not, he is a poor man's at best Sergio Aguero, where all of his skills and all of his skill set is in the penalty area. And as much as Pep Guardiola doesn't like picking Aguero because he doesn't fit in the system, Nketiah doesn't fit in the way Arsenal play. Martinelli kind of does, but Martinelli wants to operate from the left and cut in. Arteta wants his centre-back doing this all the time. Martinelli wants to do this all the time. So it was just one of those games where it required maybe a tweaking of the system to fit the players, but Arteta didn't do it. And we've just got to hope that Lacazette or Aubameyang is fit for Thursday night because they know how to play the system a bit more. Because, yeah, if this team plays like this against Villarreal next Thursday, then Unai Emery might actually enjoy being at the Emirates for once. We will talk to you next time, viewer. Good luck.